Remember when surviving summer meant more than just turning a dial? Before air conditioning, Americans had to get creative, and some methods were absolutely genius. Number 7 will blow your mind. It's so clever, you'll wonder why we abandoned it. And wait until you see number 13. It dropped temperatures by 30 degrees using nothing but dirt. These 15 ingenious methods didn't just beat the heat, they built communities. Long before electric air conditioning, ancient civilizations discovered nature's most elegant cooling secret: evaporation. The Egyptians, battling scorching Nile River heat, hung wet reed mats in front of their windows. When desert breezes blew through these damp barriers, evaporating water would steal heat from the air, creating surprisingly effective cooling. This wasn't primitive guesswork, it was sophisticated physics in action. The same principle that makes you shiver stepping out of a swimming pool was being harnessed thousands of years ago to make desert living bearable. American pioneers quickly adapted this ancient wisdom. Farm families would hang wet sheets and towels across doorways, creating instant relief when hot prairie winds blew. Some families even wrapped themselves in damp towels while sleeping, using their body heat to power natural cooling. The beauty was its simplicity. Just water, fabric, and moving air could drop indoor temperatures by 10 to 15 degrees, transforming misery into comfort on blazing summer days. Before air conditioning, the house itself was a sophisticated cooling machine, designed with engineering precision and generational wisdom. Every architectural detail served a purpose in battling heat. Those magnificent wraparound porches weren't just decorative, they were climate control systems. These deep, shaded spaces created natural outdoor living rooms where families escaped trapped indoor heat. The porch roof acted as a giant umbrella, blocking sun while allowing cooling breezes underneath. High ceilings were essential physics. Hot air rises, and those 12-foot ceilings allowed the worst heat to collect far above living spaces. Tall windows created natural ventilation, opened the bottom for cool air in, opened the top for hot air out. The real genius was cross-ventilation. Homes featured strategically aligned doors and windows, creating wind tunnels. Central hallways became air channels, and transom windows above doors allowed circulation even when rooms were closed. Southern homes often featured dog trots, open passages running through the center, creating natural wind tunnels that could dramatically drop temperatures. It was architecture working with nature, not against it. Life before air conditioning moved to a completely different rhythm, one modern Americans have entirely forgotten. People didn't fight heat, they danced with it, adjusting their entire lives to work with nature's cycles. The workday began before dawn, when air was cool and fresh. Farmers, laborers, and housewives completed strenuous tasks while the world remained comfortable. By the time sun climbed high, smart people had finished heavy work. Then came the siesta, not luxury but survival strategy. Shops closed, families retreated to shaded porches, entire communities stopped moving during peak heat. It wasn't laziness, it was wisdom. Evening brought revival. As temperatures dropped, life resumed. Families moved dining tables onto porches for outdoor dinners. Children emerged to play in yards too hot to touch hours earlier. Neighbors gathered on front steps, sharing stories and cold drinks while catching precious breezes. This wasn't just about staying cool, it was understanding humans are part of nature, not separate from it. Summer demanded patience, and people found beauty in that slower, more deliberate pace. But the real genius wasn't just changing schedules, it was what they did to their houses. The ice industry's development was revolutionary, transforming cooling from wealthy luxury into everyday possibility for ordinary Americans. Entrepreneurs like Frederick Tudor began harvesting massive quantities of natural ice from New England ponds, packing it in sawdust, and shipping it nationwide. By the 1870s, the Iceman was as familiar as the milkman, delivering large blocks using horse-drawn wagons. Ice's arrival opened unprecedented possibilities. Suddenly, cold drinks weren't just for the rich. Iced tea became summer's unofficial beverage. Ice cream parlors sprouted everywhere, offering sweet relief that made people forget heat temporarily. The icebox, an insulated cabinet cooled by huge ice blocks, became the modern refrigerator's precursor. But ice served many cooling purposes. Creative Americans placed large blocks in front of fans, creating primitive air conditioning. They soaked feet in ice water buckets and pressed cold bottles against pulse points for maximum cooling effect. During heat waves, ice became literally life-saving. When President Garfield lay dying during 1881's brutal summer, naval engineers built an early cooling device, blowing air over ice through cotton screens, trying to ease his final days. One of the smartest pre-air conditioning innovations was the summer kitchen. Separate buildings or rooms designed to keep cooking heat away from main living spaces, these weren't conveniences, they were survival necessities during sweltering summers. Imagine cooking family meals over wood-burning stoves when it's already 95 degrees outside. The main house would become unbearable, turning refuges into ovens. Summer kitchens solved this by moving all heat-generating activities, cooking, canning, laundry, to separate spaces. These kitchens were often detached buildings connected by covered walkways or located in basements or on cooler north sides. The key was isolation, keeping heat where it belonged, away from sleeping and relaxing areas. Summer kitchens changed how families ate during hot weather. Cold meals became normal: fresh salads, sandwiches, pickled vegetables, anything avoiding stove use during peak heat. Cooking happened early morning or late night when temperatures were bearable. This wasn't just comfort, it was health. Before electric refrigeration, preventing food spoilage was a constant challenge. Summer kitchens helped families maintain safer, cooler food storage while keeping living spaces habitable. Long before electricity reached most homes, inventors created ingenious mechanical solutions for generating cooling breezes. These weren't simple handheld fans. They were sophisticated machines showing remarkable creativity in pursuing comfort. The rocking chair fan was particularly charming. Attached to rocking chairs with belts and pulleys, every rock generated pleasant breezes. It combined exercise, relaxation, and cooling in one elegant solution. Foot pedal fans operated like sewing machines: pump the pedal, spin the blades. George Washington and Benjamin Franklin both experimented with these devices, proving even founding fathers sought summer heat relief. Clockwork fans powered by springs ran 30 minutes after winding. Others used small kerosene or alcohol engines, tiny mechanical marvels showing desperate desire for moving air. Water-powered ceiling fans were perhaps most sophisticated pre-electric systems. These used flowing water, turning rope, and pulley systems, creating gentle, room-wide breezes. Hotels and wealthy homes featured these continuously operating systems. The ingenuity was remarkable. People would try anything for cool air, creating mechanical solutions that seem almost magical by today's standards. Mechanical fans were clever, but what families did when the sun went down was pure genius. When nighttime temperatures remained brutal, Americans became masters of mobile comfort, turning sleep into strategic operations with almost military precision. The concept was simple but effective. If upstairs bedrooms became too hot, you moved. Families dragged mattresses, pillows, and lightweight blankets wherever they could find coolest air. Sleeping porches became outdoor bedrooms, screened against insects but open to every breeze. In cities, this created remarkable sights. During heat waves, fire escapes, packed with people sleeping outdoors in minimal clothing. Rooftops became temporary bedrooms. Though dangerously during New York's notorious 1896 heat wave, several people actually rolled off rooftops while sleeping. Wealthy families had purpose-built sleeping porches, screened outdoor rooms, sometimes featuring ceiling fans. Ordinary families improvised with whatever was available. Children pulled pillows onto front porches, falling asleep to cricket sounds and distant streetcar rumbles. Some families soaked sheets in cold water before bed, using evaporation for overnight cooling. Others placed wet towels on necks and wrists, targeting pulse points for maximum effect. This wasn't just comfort, it was survival, with elaborate family strategies ensuring everyone got rest. In the arid American Southwest, where humidity was low but temperatures crushing, inventors developed one of the most effective pre-air conditioning systems, the evaporative cooler, affectionately called the swamp cooler. These devices worked on ancient Egyptian principles, but with industrial efficiency. Hot, dry air was blown over water-soaked pads, and evaporation would steal heat, sometimes dropping temperatures 20 degrees or more. Swamp coolers' beauty was their simplicity and dry climate effectiveness. They required no refrigeration or complex machinery, just fans, water, and absorbent pads. They were cheap to operate and maintain, making them accessible to ordinary families surviving desert summers. In Arizona and New Mexico, swamp coolers became as common as southern porches. They were particularly effective in evenings when humidity dropped and temperatures began falling. Many families ran them all night, creating sleeping conditions that made desert living not just bearable, but actually pleasant. The only limitation was humidity. Swamp coolers became useless when air was already moisture-saturated. But in dry southwest regions, they were miracle machines, opening entire areas to settlement decades before affordable electric air conditioning. If you're amazed by this ingenuity, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting to the most shocking methods. As refrigeration technology developed, smart business owners realized they could use cool air as powerful customer magnets. Department stores, movie theaters, and restaurants were first to advertise cooled air as attractions, fundamentally changing how Americans spent summer days. Going to movies became one of the most popular heat escape methods, even if films weren't particularly good. Sitting in dark, artificially cooled air with hundreds of other heat refugees felt almost magical. This phenomenon actually contributed to summer blockbuster concepts. Studios began releasing biggest movies in summer, capitalizing on public's desperate cooling needs. Department stores discovered cool air meant increased sales. Comfortable shoppers lingered longer, browsed more extensively, made more purchases. Some stores advertised cooling systems in newspapers, inviting people to come in and cool off, whether buying anything or not. Public buildings like libraries, banks, and government offices became unofficial cooling centers during heat waves. People found excuses to conduct business, do research, or simply sit in lobbies, enjoying relief only these early air-conditioned spaces provided. This marked fundamental shifts in American life, from outdoor summer activities to indoor climate-controlled entertainment. Beginning our modern artificial cooling relationship, public spaces offered relief. But children found the most creative solutions of all. Children, with natural creativity and lower discomfort tolerance, developed some of the most joyful and effective cooling strategies of the pre-air conditioning era. These weren't just games, they were survival techniques disguised as fun. Running through sprinklers became summer rituals defining childhood for generations. The simple pleasure of cold water hitting sun-warmed skin was pure magic. In cities, children gathered around fire hydrants opened by sympathetic adults, creating impromptu street water parks. Swimming holes, creeks, and rivers became community centers during summer months. Children spent entire days in water, emerging only when hunger or parental calls forced them from liquid refuges. Public pools, when available, were packed beyond capacity during heat waves. Popsicles and ice cream became more than treats, they were edible cooling technology. Racing to finish popsicles before complete melting was universal summer challenges. Lemonade stands appeared on street corners, operated by enterprising kids understanding cold drinks were always in demand. Even simple games adapted to heat. Tag and hide-and-seek moved to shaded areas. Children learned seeking coolest spots under bridges, in basements, near streams, turning heat avoidance into adventures. These strategies weren't just about comfort. They were about community, sharing cooling resources, and learning that beating heat was more fun together. Dressing for summer in the pre-air conditioning era required strategy, creativity, and deep understanding of how clothing could either trap heat or promote cooling. Despite formal fashion requirements, Americans found ways staying as cool as possible while maintaining social respectability. Natural fibers were essential. Cotton, linen, and lightweight wool allowed air circulation and moisture evaporation. Synthetic fabrics didn't exist yet, which was actually advantageous, since natural materials breathe much better than modern synthetics. Color mattered enormously. White and light colors reflected sunlight and heat, while dark colors absorbed it. Classic images of Southern gentlemen in white linen suits weren't just about style, they were about survival. White clothing could be 10 to 15 degrees cooler than dark clothing in direct sunlight. Loose-fitting clothes allowed air circulation around bodies, creating natural convection cooling. Women's summer dresses were designed catching breezes, and men removed jackets and vests whenever social conventions allowed. Accessories were crucial cooling tools. Wide-brimmed hats created personal shade, protecting heads and necks from direct sun. Parasols gave women portable shade, making differences between comfort and heat stroke. Hand fans were essential equipment, from elaborate silk fans for wealthy ladies to simple paper advertising fans. For those who could afford it, the ultimate cooling strategy was simple: leave. The tradition of summering elsewhere became a defining characteristic of American life for those with means to escape urban heat islands. Wealthy families packed entire households and moved to mountain lodges in the Adirondacks, seaside cottages in Newport, or lakeside retreats in Great Lakes regions. These weren't just vacations, they were seasonal migrations driven by simple needs to find bearable temperatures. Even those unable to afford extended vacations found temporary escapeways. Day trips to beaches, lakes, or mountains became popular summer activities. Families packed picnic lunches and spent entire days near water or in shaded groves, returning home only when evening temperatures made cities bearable again. Public parks became crucial cooling refuges for urban dwellers. Cities began creating more green spaces, specifically providing heat relief for residents with nowhere else to go, offering temperatures 10 to 20 degrees cooler than surrounding concrete and asphalt. Smart homeowners discovered nature's most reliable cooling system, the earth itself. Root cellars, underground rooms dug into hillsides, stayed naturally cool year-round, providing refuge during brutal heat waves. During summer's worst days, entire families retreated to these earth-cooled spaces, enjoying temperatures 20 to 30 degrees cooler than above ground. Families would bring down chairs, books, and sleeping materials during heat waves. Children played underground games while mothers did sewing in the cool spaces. Construction was simple: dig deep, line with stone, add ventilation. Some wealthy families built elaborate basement living areas specifically for summer use, complete with furniture designed for hot weather refuge. People understood that beating heat meant working from the inside out, using foods and drinks to regulate body temperature naturally. Spicy foods made you sweat, and evaporation cooled the body. Cooling herbs like mint and cucumber were added to meals and drinks. Cold soups, salads, and raw foods became summer staples because they didn't add heat to warm bodies. Iced tea became America's unofficial summer beverage. Switchel water, vinegar, ginger, and sweetener replaced electrolytes lost through sweating. Families prepared cooling foods early morning when kitchens were bearable. Pickled vegetables, cold meats, and fresh fruits became standard fare. Ice cream wasn't just a treat, it was medicine for overheated bodies. Some used cooling foods externally, placing cucumber slices on foreheads or soaking feet in urban-fused water. Food as heat medicine was both sophisticated and effective. Families developed elaborate evening routines to capture every bit of cool night air, turning sunset into a carefully choreographed cooling ceremony. As soon as the sun began setting, every window would be thrown open. Wet sheets were hung strategically to catch breezes and cool them through evaporation. Families created air currents by placing oil lamps that drew air upward like natural chimneys. Some sprinkled water on porches, creating cooling evaporation as evening breezes passed over dampened surfaces. Children closed day shutters, then opened them to welcome night air. The ritual included moving furniture, bringing chairs and tables outside where families could sit in whatever breeze existed. Mothers dampened pillowcases and sheets before bedtime. This wasn't just physical cooling, it was a daily ceremony, marking the transition from day's survival to night's potential comfort. Bringing families together in finding relief from summer's heat, these 15 ingenious methods reveal a completely different relationship between humans and their environment. Before air conditioning, people didn't control nature, they worked with it, creating communities that embraced seasonal rhythms instead of fighting them. We gained comfort with modern AC, but lost the ingenuity, community connections, and deep understanding of natural cycles that our ancestors possessed. Which cooling method surprised you most? Share your memories in the comments and subscribe to Vintage America Tales for more stories about how our ancestors thrived before modern conveniences